Most people would ignore this piece of furniture on Facebook Marketplace or the side of the road, but that is a mistake. Why? Because it's really easy and high-end flip if you do it correctly. So let's turn this flat pack hallway table into something pretty designer and high-end. All right, first step for this is to sand. So you got to be quite careful with the sanding because this is a veneer top as well as the shell. So the point of sanding is just to scuff up the surface. We are going to paint the top. You have to be really careful not to over sand or you're going to cause damage and more work for yourself. So I'm going to go in with a 120 grit on the top, and then I'll go in with a more heavy grit for the legs because we will be staining those. So we want to knot those back quite dramatically. Let's get to sanding and we'll move on to the next step. First things first is to sand back the shelf and the top. They're getting painted, so we're just scuffing up the surface. And then we're moving on to the legs. These are getting stained, so we need a nice smooth finish on these. So stripping them right back so there is no existing stain or finish on them. Wiping down the piece with soapy water right before any paint, primer or stain goes on is super important. It just ensures that the finish goes on smooth and properly. All right, we are sanded, we are cleaned, and I have taped off the wood area. We're just about to start painting those. I'm going to go in with a primer. We're priming the top shelf and we are priming the bottom shelf. So let's go in and prime that, and then we can get into the colour, which I'm so excited to show you. Going over the primer with a fine sandpaper is just to ensure that the primer is nice and smooth and ready for the paint. Alright, so the prep work for the paint is done. We are primed. We have done a light scuff sand in between so that the paint has something to stick to. Going in with the Porter's paint in the Aniseed. It is a really rich, deep black colour. It is an eggshell finish, so it's more of like a matte. And we're going to do the top shelf and the bottom shelf. And we're just going to go in with a paintbrush and roller for this one, I think. I went with this colour as it's like a pure black, and I'm really going for a moody finish, and I think that this paint is perfect for that. This paint glides on so smoothly and goes on really well with just a paintbrush and a roller. Alright, the first coat of black paint is dry. It's about 30 degrees outside, so this bangs back in the sun and it dried in no time. So we're good to go in with the second coat, but first we're going to go in with an extra fine 400 grit sanding block. It's going to ensure that the second coat of paint has a very nice smooth surface. It's also just going to make sure that the end result is as smooth and as nice looking as possible. So let's go in with a quick scuff sand, and then we'll go in with the second coat of paint. The two coats of paint are dry and we're ready to go into the next step, and I'm quite nervous but also really excited for this step. We're going to go in with a stain on the legs, and we're going dark and moody for this. I'm quite excited. We are going in with a walnut stain. It's going to be dark. We're going for a really moody vibe on this piece, and I'm hoping that this walnut stain will match this black perfectly and give a really modern moody vibe to this hall table. So first up, we're going to tape up all the painted areas, and then we will go in with a rag and the stain, and we're going to go over all of the exposed wood. So let's see how this goes. I typically shy away from dark, so this was my first time using a dark stain and it was scary as hell. But I am super proud that I gave it a go, and I definitely learnt so much from my first time doing this that I've gone into my next flip using this so much more confident. So it's definitely worth a shot and going out of your comfort zone every now and again. Here I am just going in with the second coat of stain when the first one was dry. This is just to help with the blotchiness and give it a nice even finish. Alright, this stain is done. Tape is off, and we are ready for the final step, which is to seal it. We're going in with the usual Carbon Clear, the high durability sealant, and we're going to do this on the black and on the legs. Let's go in and do this, and we'll be back for the final result. I did consider a furniture wax to steal this, but because it is going to be a high use item, I wanted something that was going to handle that and give it long durability. So I went in with a poly for this one, and it also really made the paint and the stain stand out, so it was a win-win. I just want to remind you that this was a free Facebook find and it's flat pack. Yeah. Flashback all the way to the start when I first brought this in. You can tell it was flat pack, but now I don't think it looks like a flat pack piece anymore. I think it looks more like a boutique find. This is a breakdown of time spent, money spent, and profit. Yeah, overall, love this. Would love to hear your thoughts. Other than that, stay tuned for the next clip.